Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Greg. I've been on a language learning journey for about 4 years now. I've been teaching myself Italian, and I've been doing this without taking a formal class, without reading from a grammar book or lessons, things like that. I'm using the natural method, and the natural method is a method that was created by a doctor named Stephen Krashen, and it's just using the way that we taught languages or the way that we learned languages as kids, using that as adults. So I've got another video that I speak a lot more about the natural method, and you can check out the link below for that. But today I want to talk about, what do you do if you are beyond the beginner stage in learning a language? So many people out there may have taken 4 or 5 years of a certain language in high school or in college, so you have that framework, you have that foundation, and now you're looking to do something to get you beyond that level. You're looking for materials and things to help you get beyond just knowing the basics but not actually being able to speak the language. So I know a lot of people, especially in the US, you get a little bit of language training in high school and college, and then that's it. And if you're not somebody who was really interested in that class or in that language and learning that language, you were just getting grades and moving on, it really didn't stick. What I want to talk about today is 4 things that you can do that can really improve your language levels. So, and those 4 areas are really just the areas of communication, and that's going to be listening, reading, writing, and speaking. So every day I try to do at least 2 of these in Italian to improve my vocabulary, improve my ability to speak, improve my listening skills. So the first thing that I want to talk about is listening. Now, listening is going to be the easiest of all 4 methods of communication. Typically, you're able to pick up the target language listening to it better or more quickly than you do speaking and writing and reading. So, but it's also the easiest to do. You can listen to something while you're doing other things. Now, and I want to talk a little bit the difference in passive and active listening. I really encourage people to participate in active listening when you're using that time when you're studying. Read the subtitles in your native language first until you get used to it, or watch the same video again, use the subtitles in the native language so you can see what the written language is. And it also helps to pick up some of the words that you may not have, that your ear just didn't pick up. Active listening, again, it's a great way to study. Passive listening is great to do when you're doing other things and you don't have to have full concentration on it. You can just have it in your ears while you're running, while you're driving in the car, while you're doing the dishes, while you're doing anything. So I always try to use active listening as part of my morning routine when I try to get an hour in every day, but then I'll listen to Italian when I'm doing other things through the rest of my day. And it's a great way just to get your brain used to hearing that language. I encourage everybody to listen to native speakers. This will help your brain when it comes to just the rate and rhythm that they speak and the speed that they speak. So I really encourage listening to native speakers, and again, just allowing your brain to get used to hearing that conversation, hearing the flow of the way that they speak. Next is going to be reading. Now, reading, I think, is so important to expand your vocabulary. I've probably read upwards of 10 to 12 books in Italian, and every single page has new words that I haven't seen, because obviously books are written to be more expressive. They use a lot more descriptive adjectives, things that are going to make the story, come to life. So with that said, you'll see words in books that sometimes you won't hear people in everyday conversation using, but it's a great way to expand your vocabulary. And one of the questions I get when people are asking about reading is, should I read until I get to a word that I don't know and then look that word up immediately? Should I wait till I get to the end of the paragraph, the end of the page? And my suggestion would be to try to read beyond that word or those few words that you don't know. A lot of times I'll read down, get to a part of the sentence, or I'm not sure exactly what they're saying, what the author's saying, and then I'll move on a little bit further, and then it makes sense, or it triggers something else, and then I get it. Other times I get down to the bottom of the page and I still say, I'm not sure what that was about, or I need to look this up, and that's when I'll look it up. So generally for me, what I'll do at this stage is I'll wait till I get to the bottom of the page and then go back and decide if I need to look certain words up or a phrase. Maybe if you are still in that beginner to intermediate stage and you don't want to try to get all the way down to the end of the page because you're just hitting more and more words that you don't know, maybe finish up that paragraph. But again, a lot of times when you just move past that word or past those few words, you'll start to understand what the author's saying just a few words later. So again, reading is a great way to expand your vocabulary. Another thing that I find is really informative and helpful is to go back and read a book that I read previously. So if it's a book I read earlier in the year, I always find that I get more out of it, that I'm able to read it a little bit faster, that I'm able to pick up on a few things that I didn't pick up on the first time. And this is a great way to show show yourself the progress that you're making. The next one is writing, and I think this to me is probably one of the most helpful things I can do. I try to write every single day. I try to incorporate writing in every day, and then I go back and forth between listening, reading, and speaking. So for me, writing really shows me the small words or the small things that I might not catch if I'm just practicing speaking. If I'm practicing my speaking, I might skip over a word, I might use the wrong article, I might use the wrong preposition, and I may not notice it. When I write it out, it's right there in front of you. So what I have done is I've journaled for the past 3.5, 4 years. When I started this journey, I write in just a progress report, things that I'm struggling with, things that that I now find easier, the books that I've been reading, a little bit about the book, and I'll just put all this stuff, all this information in, and every 6 weeks I update it. I try to do it, I just chose 6 weeks because I didn't want to be doing it every 2 weeks because I don't think I would find as much improvement. I didn't want to expand it out to 3 or 4 months because I would just be missing a lot along the way. So I chose 6 weeks, and now I have almost 3.5 to 4 years of these journal entries, and they're not very long. But what I do now just to practice my Italian is I'll translate those journal entries into Italian. And this has been extremely helpful. What I'll do is I'll take one of the journal entries, I'll just start writing it out in Italian, and then what I'll do is take that English version and put it into a translation app and see what the written Italian would really be. And there's always mistakes in there. There's a lot of mistakes. Sometimes it's half the page is just little things, just small words here and there. But again, it really teaches me these little errors are there when I'm speaking. But then I'll do the same journal entry the next day and the same one the next day. And I'll do usually 4 or 5 days of the same journal entry just to make sure that I'm solidifying those corrections and I know that I'm no longer making those mistakes. And this has been huge. Finally is speaking. I've talked about this in the past. Speaking is the hardest. It's going to be the most difficult to start out that conversation. Obviously, practicing to yourself out loud is extremely important. Don't just practice in your head, because as I've said before, when you speak just in your mind, everything comes out perfectly. When you speak out loud, that transition from going from your brain to out of your mouth, it's amazing how much more difficult it is. So practice doing that out loud. If you spend all of your time just mentally thinking about the way to speak, and then you try to do it for the first time, you might be stumbling along with your pronunciation. You might be, it just doesn't come out as easily. So practice those things out loud. Make sure you're speaking to yourself. Record yourself if you can. That's another great way to go back and check. There's a lot of times I'll say something, I'll talk about a story, and I don't even notice the small error that I made, that it's not something I'm not aware of. It's not something that I don't know the correct way to say it. Because I'm trying to think and speak at the same time, it just didn't come out the right way. So this is a great way to practice your speaking, and then write it out. You can translate your own recordings that you've recorded of yourself. So another great way to practice. But again, speaking to another person and having that one-on-one conversation is going to be the most challenging, the most difficult thing to do in this whole process. And I suggest doing that at the first time that you are comfortable doing that, you're able to speak to somebody else. That's going to make huge improvements in your learning. Once you're able to have that one-on-one conversation, I mean, that's what learning a language is all about, so you can communicate with that person. It's not so you can talk to yourself. It's not so you can write down, a journal entry in a different language. It's so you can talk to other people. So again, if you're beyond that stage of brand new beginner, you've gotten to the intermediate or beginner to intermediate stage where you can comprehend 60-70% of something in that target language, work on these 4 areas every single day, and it's going to make a huge impact. Write in the comments down below if there's strategies that you've used. I'd love to hear about it. If there's another way that you've tried to get yourself beyond that beginner level to hit the intermediate level. And if you haven't already, please subscribe. We'll see you next time.